Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to cover the new community pit stop for Disney Speedstorm, which is racer balancing and stat caps. So buffs and nerfs, and they did change some of the crew stats as well. So a lot of us who hopped on the game yesterday after the update noticed that there were some crew changes and we didn't know what was going on because there was no official report that went out to let us know if this was a bug or this was actually intended. But today they gave us some news and I'm going to cover that with you guys. Before I start, I just want to let you guys know that I did want to do a double upload today, but there was a death in my family, so I'm just gonna take as much time as I can with this. I'm still gonna be as consistent as possible, like try to drop a video every other day if I can, but at the moment right now, my family needs me, so I gotta be there for them. So I apologize if I make you guys wait too long, but it's just life, right? Everyone goes through it. But to continue, sorry to make this video go sour a little, but I'll spice it up. I still got some life in me. Sorry, too early. Uh, okay, so this is what they say. Hey, Speed Stars, join us as we break down the significant list of racer balancing changes coming to the game at the start of Season 7. To kick things off, we'll discuss standard balancing changes that will go live in Season 7 and then move on to a more specific issue with racer stat caps that requires several additional stat-based adjustments for upgrade level 50 racers only. Okay, so right off the bat from there, it seems that yes, we are getting the list of buffs and nerfs to the racers that have been adjusted, as well as it seems that I wasn't too aware of this in the past because I never maxed out any of my racers. I felt like it was a waste of racer boost when I could boost other racers who needed to get to the next star level. So it seems like some racers in the game, once you got them to upgrade level 50, their stats didn't really show the effect of them getting the upgrade. So let's say, for instance, if I went through the first 49 levels and every time my racer leveled up, doesn't matter which stat it leveled, it was a constant, let's say 600 to that stat. And now when I go from 49 to 49 to 50, all of a sudden, whatever random stat that gets upgraded only gets upgraded by, let's say, half, which is 300. So then that racer in that specific stat has reached a cap. So it seems what they're doing now is to rectify that issue. Maybe instead of a particular stat getting buffed or upgraded to the max, they now put those stat points into another stat. So say, for instance, if the stat that got capped was top speed, maybe top speed doesn't get buffed anymore, and maybe it's handling, right? So let's continue. Racer skill and balancing. Common skill, fire. I hate this ability, honestly. Well, it's a good ability, it's just broken at times, right? So a racer can only be stunned once by each instance of the backwards activation. So what I'm getting from this is, if someone's ahead of you and they use a fire ability and for whatever reason you get stunned, while that fire ability is still active, if you pass through that flame of the fire, you cannot get stunned again. It's one time and one time only. Say now that effect ends and they pull fire again from another item pickup, then you can be stunned once again. So imagine, let's say, for instance, this would be like one of the worst case scenarios, that you're in a race and 3 players have fire skills or fire trails, and you get stunned by all 3 of them. You can no longer get stunned by those fire trails again, which is nice. I don't know if they're gonna give you like an invulnerability shield while you pass through the flame to let you know that, but we'll have to see. The stun duration from the backwards activation has been reduced, so it no longer has the same length of time for this skill. It's been shortened. Combat stat, brawler, racer, class, and stuns. Okay. The combat stat in game directly affects the duration of stuns, which is true. Higher combat stat you have, the less stun duration you have. The lower your combat stat is, the longer the stun duration is. Would that be when you stun a rival racer or when your own racer is stunned? Our team is implementing changes so racers getting stunned feels less punishing. Thank you. For players, this was a big issue in higher ranks. You get stunned at the beginning of the race or at an opportune time in a race, and I mean like a section of the race where it requires a lot of focus. You get stunned there, in any of those moments, that race is lost to you. Good luck even placing in fourth place. You know what I mean? There's many times where I was doing the King Triton series, and off the bat, I would get stunned in a horrible position, and it would cost me the race. I was playing catch up the entire time, and I couldn't advance in position. It was ridiculous. So them changing the stun duration and making it less punishing for players is absolutely great, because if it affects high ranked play, it also affects low ranked play. And on top of that, if we can feel better gameplay coming out of this because of them adjusting that, that means across the board everyone's gonna like the game a lot better. Good on you, Gameloft, because this has been an issue that has been addressed every season since free to play, since I've been playing this. So I'm glad you guys finally got to your I don't know. I'm glad they just finally got to this issue, and they're now addressing it. So the adjustments are as follows. The duration of stun for racers with a low combat stat will be shorter. That is good. I honestly think they should just get rid of the combat stat, and across the board, everyone should have a specific combat stat. So like if you're a brawler, you have the least amount of time that you're stunned. If you're a defender, you're probably the second. You probably have the second least amount of time being stunned, and then Trickster and Speedster, maybe they have the same duration of stun time. But let's move forward. So the speed reduction effect from being stunned has been lowered. That is good. So for instance, if you get stunned by Elsa's ice, you no longer, and I mean the ice beam, you no longer suffer too much from speed reduction, which is good. The duration of stuns received from a brawler class racer dash has been reduced. So, you know, in the beginning of a race, when a brawler would stun you for their boost, you no longer receive that same length of stun anymore. So let's say you were stunned for 5 seconds, maybe you're now stunned for 2. I don't know, we'll have to see. The knockback effect received from a brawler class racer dash has been increased. So they lowered the duration of you being stunned, but now they increased the knockback you receive from being rammed into by a brawler. So yeah, that sucks. Just stay away from brawlers unless you're a defender. Racer balancing. Racer Jasmine. Okay, did Jasmine get a nerf? That would be nice. She does not need to be S tier like that. The normal activation of Jasmine's unique skill only grants invulnerability while she is in proximity to Raja. Okay. So does that mean if you use the charge skill, or if, let's say, Raja's on one side of the track and you're on the other side, if you're not close enough to Raja, you don't get invulnerability unless you close the gap and drive over to the side where Raja is. Kind of like how Mowgli's skill works with the pack of wolves. If you're not too close to the wolves, you don't get the boost. But if you are literally right behind the wolves or right beside the wolves, your boost bar fills up. So we're gonna have to see that in practice. The duration of the charge activation of Jasmine's unique skill has been reduced by 1 second across all levels. Honestly, maybe it could have been reduced by 2 seconds, but that's just me. Raja's speed has been reduced at star levels 4 and 5 for charge activations of Jasmine's unique skill. I honestly don't think that needed to be changed. I honestly thought that was okay. It was the fact that when she used Raja, she would be able to be invulnerable and she can get boost. I didn't like that. You either give her one or the other. If you're using Raja, you get boost. You don't get invulnerability too. If you want to give her invulnerability, okay, but you don't get boost. Nothing fills up. You fill that up yourself. So I still think they need to go back and revisit her and make a few more changes. Raj's speed has been increased at star levels 2 and 3 for charge activation with Jasmine's skill. Like I said, I don't think it needed to be changed, these two right here, but that's just me. So Aladdin, is he getting a nerf? Because it's due time. The speed at which Aladdin travels while the normal activation of his unique skill is active has been reduced by 10%. Okay, that's not... I get what they're doing and I see where they're going with this, but I honestly think that 10% could have been 20%. We would have been fine there. Racer Genie. Genie's top speed stat has been reduced. Why? I mean, if you're gonna reduce his top speed stat, you could have buffed his handling stat. So that's a Genie nerf across the board. There's no benefit to Genie right now. He just got nerfed. So him being A tier and being one of the better defenders, it looks like he is now gonna sit somewhere at the lower end of the A tier and still be a top defender, but not as nice as he used to be. And honestly, I don't think he needed a nerf. I thought Genie was fine the way he is, but if his top speed got capped, then I could see why they did this. Okay, so Racer Jafar. Jafar's top speed stat has been increased. I appreciate that. I felt out of the Aladdin collection, the only one that didn't get love was Jafar. And I still think he could use some subtle changes, like him using his abilities. I think he should be able to get invulnerability, just because it makes no sense having an ability where you have to focus on getting your stuns, when if you get stunned yourself, that ability is now useless. Everyone has now passed you. You're no longer stunning. You no longer have the pressure to apply to other racers. That's now gone. You're no longer a threat. So giving him invulnerability while using his charged or normal activation, I thought would have been good. Maybe if he uses his normal activation where he shoots the fire in front of him, maybe that could have been him getting a speed boost, because now he could or filling up his boost bar, because now if he's behind someone and he wants to close the gap and stun them, he can do that. And if you want to give him invulnerability while he shoots fire from either side of him, that'd be nice too. You know what I mean? So things like that would just help certain racers close the gap in their collection. Like Jafar, he probably has the lowest pick rate, and rightfully so. In the collection, you have races like Jasmine who are busted, and Aladdin who's broken, and Genie who was a top defender. So it's like you'd use one of these three and you'd be fine, especially in ranked multiplayer. But Jafar is like, you take him as far as he can go. Racer Ariel. Jesus, I'll cut that out. Racer Ariel. Give me a second here. Racer Ariel. The speed boost granted from Ariel's charged unique skill after collecting 4 relics has been reduced between 7 and 13% depending on the star level. Okay, that's not bad. Honestly, I thought if they're gonna change that across the board, I think a 10% would have been just solid. 10% would have been fine. So if you didn't know this unique I would even say ability, but the uniqueness of her ability, I would say, is that if you collect the 4 relics, instead of using the charge activation after you get it, some racers realize that, including myself, once you picked up the 4 relics, you had a significant speed boost for the duration of the race, as long as you didn't use the charge activation. So what a lot of racers would do is, once they collected the 4 relics and maybe they dashed once, or after they collected the 4 relics and they were in a good position, they never used the dash because their top speed was significantly higher, which would keep them ahead of the pack, so they can just finish off the race just driving normally if they wanted to. and if they needed to at the last second, if you're holding on to that her unique ability, you can use the dash at the end of a race just to really ensure that you win the race. So them reducing the top speed you got from just holding on to the 4 relics, I appreciate that. Let's see, did Eric get a nerf to his ship trail? Because that needs a nerf. Racer Prince Eric. The length of the trail effect from Prince Eric's charged unique skill has been reduced by 25%. I like that, because if you were watching my King Triton series, a lot of the times I would get stunned and I was nowhere near the trail. It was just ridiculous, very egregious. It's like, and half the time lobbies were just filled with Erics because he was so busted with that ability. And if you needed to stun someone who was in first place, that was the guy you used. I mean, yeah, Jumbo's effective, but if someone cloaks or shields up, that blaster rifle is useless. But now Eric, his trail, don't matter if you had the shield, because once that shield is gone, you can get stunned. You had the cloak and the cloak just ran out and the trail was still there, and you didn't think you were, if you thought you were far enough from the trail, no, you're still getting caught. So I'm glad they nerfed that. Racer King Triton. King Triton's top speed stat has been increased. Nice. So we know King Triton already had a high top speed stat, so him getting an increase to his top speed stat, I think now puts him probably at number 1, possibly. We'll see, because like they said, a lot of races are getting nerfs in terms of stats because some of them have been capped, and I think we'll see some racers who were at the top because of their top speed now slightly be lower in terms of top speed to other races, because for example, King Triton getting a buff to his top speed, right? King Triton's handling stat has also been increased. Thank the Lord. As much as I love this top speed, his handling was atrocious, man. Especially at places like Hawaii, it was just the worst. Him going around those turns and bends was just not good. And it did not help that you had the top speed, because you had low acceleration. So for you to get back in a race, it would take too long. So him getting better handling, I appreciate that. Racer Ursula. Ursula's handling stat has been increased. That's nice, because as a trickster, the fact that you can't make turns is like, what are we doing? At that point, why are you a trickster? You should have just been a brawler. Like I said, Ursula was built like a brawler, but she's in the trickster class, which I appreciate because she has a high top speed stat for a trickster. However, it doesn't matter if you can't make turns. You're pretty much a brawler. And at this point, a worse brawler, because you benefit your ramming mechanic. Not to say that tricksters are bad as a class, because they're my favorite class. I think they're the best class in the game. But someone with stats like Ursula as a trickster doesn't benefit you. Yeah, you can use other skills. However, you being able to stun people and take them out the race, I thought would have been better. That's why I thought she should have been a brawler, because she had the stats to be a brawler. But moving on, I'm glad that they did buff her handling stat. Racer Hans, is he getting a nerf? Because he did get a buff before the last season. The duration of the charge activation of Han's unique skill has been reduced by 20%. Oh, so his arrows no longer stay on the track as long as they used to. Okay. I thought they were going to take away his invulnerability from cloaking up on his normal activation. But you know what? I always thought he should have had invulnerability with his cloak, the normal activation. So I'm glad they kept that. Han's handling stat has been increased. Okay. Although I don't think they need to do that, but I appreciate that. So he got a nerf and a buff at the same time. Racer Sully. Is he falling out the S tier? Sully's top speed stat has been reduced. Oh, there we go. Just like I said, is King Triton gonna move to the top now, because racers like Sully, for instance, is getting a nerf to their top speed stat. And I'm guessing he was one of the racers that got affected by the upgrade level 50 stat cap. We'll find out. There's still a lot of length here in this article. But aside from that, Sully's handling stat has also been increased. Okay, that's good, because as brawlers, majority of the brawlers in this game could not turn for their life. And if you needed to get around a corner and there was a trickster beside you, trickster's taking the lead over you. Not to say that I think they should be able to compete with tricksters in terms of being able to handle corners well. I just think they need to be, brawlers across the board need to be at a comfortable place where anyone can use their brawler and feel like, oh, I can take that corner, instead of when you get to a corner you feel like, oh no, I don't think I'm gonna make this corner, I gotta brace for impact. Like, no. No one wants to play a racing game like that, because yeah, you're giving us a cushion with top speed, but that top speed is worthless once you crash into a wall and you have a low acceleration stat, and it takes forever to get back to where you were, as opposed to someone like, I don't know, a speedster. They crash into a wall and they're right back in it like nothing happened. A trickster, same thing. A defender, same thing, because as long as you're behind someone, that boost is still going to be active, so you're not going to feel it. But brawlers, they felt it to another level. I think it was heightened, to be honest, just because they didn't have a saving grace like the other classes did. Moving on, Racer Randall. Randall's top speed has been increased. My man's my favorite racer out of that collection. He's getting some love. I love to see it. Racer Buzz Lightyear. Is he falling out the S tier now? For the longest time since I came to the game, he was one of the best racers, if not the best racer in the game. Hopefully he doesn't get a significant nerf, because honestly didn't think he was broken. He was perfect the way he was, and I thought he was an example of the type of time, work, and dedication you need to put in all the races to be balanced like Buzz. But let's read this. The speed boost granted from Buzz Lightyear's charged unique skill has been reduced by 10%. I don't think that's too bad, because this charged skill did give you a significant boost, so reducing that by 10%, I don't think you're going to feel it as much. Buzz Lightyear's handling stat has been increased. I appreciate that. So minor nerf, but I think a greater buff in the sense. Racer Minnie Mouse. Minnie Mouse's top speed has been increased. Okay. That's a weird one, only because last season or last pit stop they nerfed her top speed, and it looks like they reverted that. They walked it back. I guess they didn't like what they saw from Minnie Mouse after that change, and I'm glad they went back to, maybe they, I don't know, maybe they gave her the same top speed that she had before the nerf. We'll have to see, but I'm glad they walked it back, because they made Minnie essentially a worse racer than she needed to be. But moving on, racer stat Steamboat Mickey. I think I know the nerf that they're gonna give him. The duration of the charge activation. Yep. So his water trail is now, let's see, the charge activation of Steamboat Mickey's unique skill has been reduced by 1 second across all star levels. Okay, so they nerfed the duration of that. The length of the trail effect from Steamboat Mickey's charge unique skill has been reduced by 25%. So they gave him the same treatment as Prince Eric. So Eric's trail has been reduced by 25%, and now Steamboat Mickey's trail has been reduced by 25%. So maybe any racer who has a trail effect, they're all going to be reduced by the same 25% across the board, which is nice. Balance these races with this similar set of skill the same, so one doesn't feel more powerful than the other. I like that. Racer Mulan. Mulan's top speed stat has been increased. Oh, my girl's getting some love. I love to use Mulan. The only thing holding her back was the top speed, but now that she's getting a top speed boost, or now that she has a top speed increase, oh, this is gonna go a long way for her, trust me. I think she's gonna get a higher pick rate because of this. Racer Mowgli. Finally, this man has been F tier for too long. Give him some love, Game Love. Mowgli now generates more manual boosts when he is in proximity to the wolves, while the normal activation of his unique skills active. Okay, so before, if anyone has used Mowgli, because I know no one was using him because he was that bad, his wolves used to boost his boost bar. That's a lot of, but now it seems like the rate that they boost the boost bar for Mowgli is increased, so that's lovely. Mowgli's Mowgli instantly fills his manual boost bar after the charge activation of his unique skill. Okay, so them saying instead of you waiting for that boost to fill up, they're now saying, okay, forget that. As soon as Mowgli instantly uses his charge activation, he's getting his boost bar filled. I appreciate that. Does that mean both boost bars are getting filled, or is it just the one boost bar? And we'll have to see. But I appreciate that. I think it was much needed. However, I still think he needs a speed stat increase. I think that would help him a lot. And I also think he needs to get invulnerability the same way that Jasmine does, because they're essentially the same racer, and it's night and day between Jasmine and Mowgli. I don't understand why. Lilo, hopefully she's getting a buff. The duration of the normal activation of Lilo's unique skill has been increased across all star levels. What? So they intended to buff Lilo, and this is what they came up with. I thought, honestly, I was thinking they was gonna revisit her, and her trail, every time someone hits it, she gets her boost bar gets filled, or when she has a trail, she gets invulnerability as well. Her camera skill, every time she takes a picture of someone, her boost bar gets filled. Like, come on, like I'm giving you guys ideas here, and these are way better to implement than what you guys are doing currently, because this does not help her. She's still F tier as well. Mowgli is now D tier, I want to say, but Lilo is the only F tier racer in this game at this moment. Like, okay, racer Captain Gantu. Captain Gantu's handling stat has been increased. Like I said, brawlers have a horrible handling rate in this game. So now that it seems that they're all getting a handling buff across the board is very much appreciated. So Oswald. The speed at which Oswald travels while the charged activation of his unique skill is active has been reduced by 10%. Okay, I don't think that's bad, but I also think he could have used a top speed buff, but that's just me. Racer Wally. The amount of manual boost granted by collecting the piles of scrap metal from normal activation from Wally's unique skill has been reduced by 15%. Why nerf that? Wally was sitting comfortably in the B tier racers. Why nerf that? If anything, that makes him a worse racer. You guys could have buffed his top speed stat. You guys could have buffed his charge activation skill while nerfing his normal activation skill. But in nerfing his normal activation skill, which was really good, especially for him because he has a lower top speed stat, you essentially made him a worse racer than he needed to be. Hopefully they walked that back like they did Minnie Mouse's nerf last season. Okay, so I guess this is the next section. Racer stat caps and crew changes. As some players started to max out their races by reaching 5 stars and racer upgrade level 50, an issue was identified where stat bonuses granted by crew members were being capped. Okay. After a lengthy investigation by the team, a solution was identified, but it requires rebalancing some stats for racers at upgrade level 50 only. Okay, so I guess not every racer gets affected by this. It's just a few that were suffering from this issue at level 50. The changes to the affected races are listed in full below. Racer Jafar, top speed stat has been increased. Okay. Racer Ariel, handling stat has been increased. Okay. Racer Prince Eric, top speed stat has been increased. So these are all buffs, by the way. And Jafar getting a top speed stat is welcoming. Ariel getting a better handling stat is also welcoming. Eric getting a top speed stat is nice to see. He's going to be one of the better, if he's not already one of the better speedsters in this game. King Triton, we already saw that he got a top speed stat, but he also got the handling stat to go with it. Nice to see. Ursula, we know she got the handling stat increase. Racer Hans, handling stat as well. Olaf, his boost stat has been decreased. Okay, I guess that was being capped. Sully, his top speed was being capped, so in order to rectify that, they boosted his handling stat, which is nice to see. Randall, his boost stat has also been increased. So not only did Randall get a top speed increase, but he also got a boost stat increase. That's nice to see. Buzz Lightyear, his handling stat has been increased, which we already know. Woody, his boost stat has been decreased. Okay. Racer Minnie Mouse, her top speed stat has been increased. Goofy, acceleration stat has been increased. Okay, I like that. Gantu, as we know, top speed has been increased and handling has been increased. Oswald, top speed stat has been reduced. Oh wow. So As I said, I thought he needed a top speed buff, but here he was getting his top speed was getting capped off by the upgrade level 50. Hmm. Maybe they could have buffed his acceleration. I'm not sure. Racer Hortensia, top speed stat has been reduced. Ouch. She is already suffering from a weak unique character ability, and now top speed has been buffed as well. I mean nerfed. Sorry. Her top speed has been nerfed, so she's not getting much love as of late. The beast boost stat has been increased. Interesting, because it seems like ever since season 5 he's been getting a lot of love to the point where he's slowly climbing the tiers. I think right now he's sitting comfortably at the top of the B tier, maybe even lower A tier. Racer Mulan, top speed stat has been increased. We already know that, and it's welcoming, and I appreciate that because she needed some love in that regard. That was the only thing holding her back. Moving on. Crew changes. Oh, and we're at the end of this article. Okay, so crew changes. The previously mentioned stat cap changes gave us an opportunity to review how crew stat bonuses are applied. Previously, crew members granted purely numerical stat bonus. For example, plus 500 to top speed. Yeah, so what they're essentially saying is the previous way that crew members used to buff racers were that if you equip them to your crew slot or their crew slot, specific crew members would give you like 500 to your top speed or 500 to your boost stat, etc., etc. But now it seems that they're saying going forward, crew members will now grant percentage-based stat bonuses with the max percentage for each individual stat being 5%. So now they're saying instead of let's say a common crew member gave you 100 top speed. Now they're saying they give you 1% top speed at level 1. So if the crew member is level 1 and they were giving you 100 top speed, they now give you 1% top speed. At level 5, they will give you 500 top speed. Now they're saying at level 5, they'll give you 5% top speed. Okay, I like that. Taking the top speed stat as an example, the 5% bonus is tied to the maximum possible top speed stat for a racer. Okay, so what they're saying is 5% is the highest that any of these stats will go to. So it'll go from 1% to 5%, and it won't go any higher than that. These changes allow us to increase the number of different racer stats a crew member can now grant, or a crew member can grant bonuses to. This means that common crew members will now grant bonuses to 2 different stats, while rare crew members will now grant bonuses to 3 different stats. So last season and all the seasons before that, the way that the crew members buff stats were, if you had a common crew member, they only buffed 1 stat, which sucked. And rare crew members, purple color, they would buff 2 stats. And the epic crew members, which was yellow or gold, they'd buff all the stats to a percentage. But now they all buff stats to a percentage base, and they all buff at least 2 stats, which is nice to see. We are also making a change to normalize the behavior of epic crew members. Previously, epic crew members granted a higher stat bonus to epic racers than to common or rare racers. From now on, epic crew will grant the same stat bonus regardless of the rarity of the racers they are equipped to. So across the board, whether it's common, rare, and epic, all of them give the same stat bonus. So if an epic crew member gave 5%, now a rare crew member will give the 5% as well as a common. So essentially, if you wanted to buff your top speed, you could look for all the crew members that gave top speed at 5%, and you'd get 15% instead of it being like, I don't know, 9% from the epic crew member, 3% from the rare crew member, and then you got another, I don't know, 2% from the common crew member, or I guess I did the math wrong. So 10% from the epic crew member, which is the highest level crew member you can have, and then 3% from the rare crew member, which was purple, and then 2% from the common crew member. So that would give you 15%. Now they're saying no, each give you 5%, essentially. Okay, let's see. We're also making some adjustments to the skill bonus granted by the following crew members. King Louis will now grant a skill bonus to boost instead of shield. Okay. Jungle Book Collection. Otto will now grant a skill bonus to rush instead of shot. Wally Collection. Miss Hasagawa will now grant a skill bonus to shot instead of hacked. Lilo and Stitch collection. Elephant on a bicycle will now grant a skill bonus to hack instead of bomb. Oswald and a Lucky Rabbit collection. So it seems that they switched around a couple of bonuses that you can receive from some crew members, because I guess either it was too advantageous or it was just lacking in that regard. And yeah, that's it for all the balancing changes to season 7. See you all out on the racetrack. Okay guys, I think this is a good time to wrap it up, because as you can see, there's nothing left in this article. So a lot of changes. It did promise us before this season 7 update that there were going to be a lot of changes in terms of balancing, and I guess they delivered on that end. However, like I said, I still think they should revisit a couple races like Jasmine. Still need to take a look at her. Genie getting that nerf. Dang, hate to see that. Another racer I think they really need to look at was Minnie Mouse still needs some love. And Mowgli definitely, I think, still needs the same treatment as Jasmine. And for sure, Lilo, because she's currently the worst racer in this game. But I appreciate you all for stopping by and showing the channel some love. I'd like to say enjoy the rest of your day. And please don't forget, if you enjoy my content, to leave a like and subscribe. If you'd like to comment, feel free to. You can discuss what you liked or disliked about these changes. And with that, I'll see you at the next one.
Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you at the next one.